Dun, 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 dun. It's Crypto Night in Canada! Yay! Hi,
Yeah, it's
everybody.
time to
I
blow
have to
off
get
some
the tea
steam.
kettle.
No words.
Yeah.
No words. What's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? Everyone having fun in the crypto world, in the stock market?
Well, as fun as you can have, I guess.
Yeah, everyone ponying up and going to supply Poland and Bolivia. Is it Bolivia with gas?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send them over my genie light.
Oh, well, that's good.
Freaking
I was
awesome.
muted the whole time.
Oh, were you even talking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Zach nailed it. I muted again, but whatever. We fixed it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I have no idea what Nancy has planned for tonight. We went interstate to meet some friends, then came back. And I don't know anyone who's driven through Central Ontario. I don't know if Jason's here, but there's a place called Lake Placid, and you go through basically farm country where all the groves are and all the sod farms and all that jazz.
I'm back.
And they have these, when you drive and you get the night flies and stuff on your windshield and all this and that. Holy mother of God. I have never seen in daylight this many, they're called love bugs. Now, I can see the love bug coming a quarter of a mile away at the windshield. And it was pinging off the windshield. I've got pictures of it, but it doesn't do it just. It looked like white dots. I hardly over like 50-60% of my windshield. It was unbelievable. Thing is that you can't clear it with your windshield wipers because it's just like taking white paint and smearing it.
oh, fun.
You have to grin and bear it. Yeah.
Ontario's wild for the bugs.
You've not seen bugs until you've seen these bugs down here.
The love bugs.
Love bugs, yeah.
The love bugs.
No, I used to hate bugs like a lot. And then I spent a summer in Florida, and because of how big and plentiful the bugs are, the bugs up here don't bug me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't get how many freaking bugs can. How many bugs, Nance? We gotta kill it. Bugs.
Yeah.
We got to. I forget what I was saying.
You were talking about how many bugs are there?
Can you tell we're totally on vacation mode?
It's okay.
We're like right out of it. We're right out of it.
Speak your mind. You called this meeting.
I know. No, sorry. Well, it's Wednesday night. It's shocking. I was remembering this time last week when we were here, vacation had just started, and I was just starting to feel a little bit like my old self again. Boy, I'm like perky. Vacation is good. If you haven't taken one in a long time, do it. Take a vacation. Before we all become scared about our money and then nobody will be doing anything. We'll all be staying at home, which is what I kind of wanted to talk about tonight. So let me just quick say hi to everybody I see Zach's here and Riley and Lily and Redbeard and Mr. Red Taco. I'm not sure who else is in the house tonight. Oh, Marie Claude and Dave D. Wow, we got a full house tonight. Anyways, Thank you, Tim. So anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the changes we're seeing down here. We talk a lot about what's going on in the US when we're up in Canada and we haven't actually been in the US. Well, being down here and seeing some of the stuff that's going on, it's really, really interesting. This is not it's not a good or a bad commentation, just is what it is. So the first day we got here, I think we said this last week, we ended up going to like a Walmart market. That's all it is food. It's not like a traditional Walmart because it was the only thing that was open because it was Easter. We got here on Easter Sunday and everything's closed down on Easter Sunday. So we went to that Walmart market and the shelves were freaking bare. like bare. I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't just because it was Easter Sunday, because we've been there since. And same thing. Like it's quite shocking how little stuff. You go into the higher end grocery stores, the big bucks, where you pay the premium prices for everything, fully stocked. So what is the narrative? That it's like, it is really the stuff that's inexpensive is flying off the shelf. People are trying to conserve their money. And then my girlfriend was telling me the most shocking thing with which going on in Massachusetts is their bills have quadrupled in a very short period of time. So, for instance, where she would pay her electric bill for a month was about $70 up in Massachusetts, it's now close to $400. And she's not even there using anything. So she's on a Facebook group with all of the neighboring community, and they're all freaking out about what's going on with this whole, the prices are just skyrocketing. The other thing she does, oil for her fuel, because they're a rural farming community, so they don't have natural gas being pumped to their house. They've got an oil tank. And she hasn't even been there. And the temperature has just stayed pretty steady in her home since she's been gone since February. It was $1,000 US to fill up her oil tank. She hasn't even been there. So what's happening down here is you're starting to hear it. You're starting to hear people talk about it a lot down here. And so that was what spurred the conversation between Tim and I about what were we going to talk about tonight is all this stuff about like what's happening, and is it inevitable now? Like, how do people afford to have their basic bills go up 4 times their normal amount? How does that even happen?
Yeah, I mean it's a mess, and if people want to complain about interest rates going up, they got to go up a lot more if we're going to get this under control.
Yeah, I agree.
Did they go up again in Canada?
Pardon?
Did they go up again on Monday in Canada?
Not that I've heard of, not yet.
I hadn't heard that they'd gone up either, but I just wanted to verify.
False news. I got false news.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous. I was telling Nancy that we know some people down here, or we were talking to some people down here, and the medical system down here and their health coverage down here, as everyone knows, is very, very different. And this person had a knee replacement, and they of course don't have health care, so on and so forth. Cost $325,000.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Nance, I said, I got thinking about it. And I thought, how do you wake up every morning knowing you owe someone $325,000 for a knee? Like, how do people like? I got to give these Americans kudos. I mean, Jesus, I don't know how they survive, but they survive. I don't know how they do it. I really, honest to God, don't know how they do it.
And I'd be more like, do I really need a knee?
Well, and here's the thing, like
it stumped me too, but
but they have health insurance, and they had to have their knee replaced twice. So the first time it was replaced, then it got infected, and then the second time the insurance company deemed it was not related to the first surgery, so they charged them the full gamut for that knee replacement. And I thought to myself, we have a dear friend who is an American, and tells us all the time, well, your healthcare in Canada is not free. You pay taxes through the nose. Okay, I do not pay $320,000 worth of taxes every year. That's not a thing in my world.
No, but I would say over a 5-year period, you probably pay enough to get we've paid enough taxes that when you would be paying for your knee surgery, you've already prepaid. That's the only difference. So
for sure, but you know what? There's parts of me though, Ryan, and I tend to lean towards the sort of conservative leaning thought on a lot of stuff, except when it comes for healthcare, because there's parts of me that I don't know. I have a lot of friends that will never, ever, ever make the kind of money that I make, and I do not think that they pay the amount of tax that I pay either. So that means they wouldn't have prepaid any of that. And they don't have a hope in hell if that we were living in the US of ever surviving having to have any kind of medical procedure done, because they would never have made enough money to cover that off. I don't want to live in a world, truthfully, where I have to worry if my child goes into the hospital to have a baby that they're going to go bankrupt with their medical bills and won't be able to pay their heat and hydro or feed themselves. It's really crazy. It's crazy. The vast majority of bankruptcies down here happen because of medical bills. And I now understand why their house prices are so low down here. Otherwise, nobody would afford a house.
Well, don't forget, we're getting free dental care too.
Oh, anyways, so that was one topic. Nobody really wants to dive into this one. I clearly.
No, they're afraid they're going to get hurt.
Ha ha ha.
Well, it's a taxing topic.
Oh yes. Yes. So okay.
Source.
So on top of the conversations we've been having down here and what we've been seeing, there's some other things that I thought are kind of indicative of is a recession imminent. So one of the things that I saw was, so the stocks are really taking a tumble. I mean, you two know this more than Tim and I. We haven't even been looking at it since we've been down here. I'm just reading. I'm just literally just reading news articles, and one of the ones that said was, and they continue to slide dramatically yesterday over fears of slowing economic growth. The Deutsche Bank didn't improve Wall Street's mood, forecasting a major recession when the Fed's yank interest rates higher to tame inflation. So, what are you guys seeing?
I think a recession is on the table. I think it's coming. I don't think we can avoid it. We either have to face a recession or we have to face inflation. And I think a recession probably is not as painful as what we're seeing right now with runaway inflation. So I say bring it on.
When was the last time we had runaway inflation to a large degree? Was that back in like 87?
I thought it was the 70s.
I don't know if it's ever been this bad though in a long.
Well,
yeah, like the last time we were at this point, I believe was 1981. I think that's what Bloomberg was saying the last time we had our rate decision, our CPI numbers come out, but I don't know, something 30, 40 years, something like that.
Well, yeah, because the reason I asked that is because I remember, as people know, when I signed my first mortgage to buy my first business, it was 18% mortgage rate. I mean,
the 30-year in the States is already getting really 30-year fixed in the States is already getting really high.
What is it?
I believe it's just shy of 6.
Oh, wow.
So, which is pretty high, obviously. So our next rate decision is going to be on June 1st, 2022, obviously. In the United States, they're going to have a rate decision this month in May and in June as well. So you're going to notice that we've already heard, well, it was leaked with that IMF meeting that he was pretty much already guaranteed that he's going to raise a 0.5 point rate hike, and then probably going to front load the interest rate hikes as opposed to spreading them out over a 0.25 point. So if you front load all of that, add it to the fact that Canada is also front loading and we're going to go aggressive too, supply chain, yada, 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 yada. It's obvious that what's, going into the market right now, it's all garbage. I'm not even looking at it. I'm literally, the only things I'm focusing on are my recently opened hedge play and then my old hedge play. That is literally all I'm focusing on, because even companies like Disney make me want to sit on a landmine. It's absolutely devastating. Big companies falling off the cliff.
Well, and then Netflix earnings are dumping as subscriptions, our people are cutting their costs. So they're cutting out things like the additional Netflix. And I mean, how many of those streaming services does one need? And I asked him this question, and maybe the viewers or somebody in the crew or you guys could help me answer this question. So say you have Netflix, just say that you had Netflix. Do you have to sign a year contract to get that Netflix, or can you go month to month?
You can go month to month.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking. You could be watching a series for a month, pay for your Netflix. Then when you can't find anything on Netflix, then you jump over and go, oh, I want to watch that series on Prime. Get rid of Netflix, jump over to Prime. So then you're only paying for what you're actually viewing, as opposed to sticking yourself in a contract or a year-long thing.
Yeah.
I would say that you know what, sounds like a good idea. Most people are not going to cancel their Netflix. They're just going to sign up for Crave and Prime until it gets to the point where they look at their bill and they're like, holy shit, I have 3 or 4 subscription services, and then they drop off. I've been down that road myself. I can tell you guys straight up, I don't pay for Netflix. I totally steal Netflix and share it with another account. I have no qualms about it. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people do it. And Netflix is boring. There are so many other options out there. You have Disney Plus, you have Crave, you have Prime. Not to mention, Prime now allows you to actually get live news on Amazon Prime. So it's like, I'm never signing up for Netflix again. I can promise you that. And I'm debating if I even want to keep my Crave. Crave has a lot of other stuff like HBO, so I kind of want to keep Crave and Prime. But Amazon's offering nothing.
How much TV watching do you do, Ryan?
Well, not much. I mean, Crave I don't really use, but I always watch the live news in the morning and, whatever. So I use Prime for that. And then if I watch stuff, it's almost entirely on YouTube, to be honest.
Me too. And you know what? CTV has a free app. You can watch old shows, like old series. They've got some of the stuff that they had on theirs, and it's all free. I don't pay anything for CTV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have Prime for the simple reason that the free delivery from Amazon makes it worth it right there.
Yeah, exactly.
In addition to that, every so often Prime gets me to watch a couple of shows that haven't come out yet and give them my feedback, and then they give me gift cards for doing that.
Nice. How do you do that?
I don't know how I ended up doing that. One day they asked me and they said, hey, would you mind watching 3 episodes of this and we'll give you some gift cards? And I'm like, sure.
Well, I can tell you the ads down, we don't have TV, so we have TV down here. We're watching TV down here. And the ads are driving me bananas.
Unfreaking believable.
There's got to be 8 to 10 ads on. And you know what I've noticed, because I haven't watched TV in a while, is that the length of the ads have shortened up.
But there's a couple that are just driving me bonkers because we don't really change much what we're watching. We watch a lot of HGTV because we don't get that anywhere else, right? So we watch that. And they have this one ad for a car commercial. Don't even know what type of car, but my God, it is. And I know what they're trying to do. So it's a circle of children that are playing their instruments, and the car's in the middle, and the mom leans back and she rolls up the windows and she has a nap, like as if she can't hear.
Honey, first of all, it's Alexis.
Was it Alexis?
And second of all, it's the teacher in the car.
Is it the teacher in the car? She had a kid in the back. I don't know. That whole thing, it's just, and they play it, 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 and they play it.
But they're paying for that.
I can't even stand the dang thing anymore.
Well, why are you watching the show?
Anyways, so long and short of it, this is why I love YouTube. And I will say this. Yes, sometimes I have to watch commercials on YouTube. And guess what? They're only less than 2 minutes, and they're different. I don't think I've had a repeated commercial.
Oh, don't say repeat.
Pete, listen, Pete and repeat. And so anyways, long and short of it, I'm telling you, love YouTube. Speaking of that, Alphabet shares slid after YouTube ad revenue came in lower than expected last quarter. So do we think that people are not, like, corporations aren't advertising on YouTube? Do they think the eyeballs have gone off of YouTube? Now, I know we're diehard YouTubers. Candace, you're a diehard YouTuber. Ryan's a diehard YouTuber. But, like, are we losing people on YouTube? Do you think that's why they're not advertising in there? Have you got any feedback on that, Candace?
No, I don't think that's a situation. I mean, one thing is the fact that you can skip an ad. That is one of those things. I think as a business, I think YouTube almost has to get rid of that skip function, because they need to be making their advertisements, for one. The other thing too is they're in a big battle right now between all of the shorter content people. So TikTok and Instagram and That's one of the reasons there's such a huge focus on shorts. So and that's the best way. The way Gary does it is you can just pay a monthly fee, and then
what is the monthly fee, Gary?
It's not much. I don't think it's much at all.
I've been thinking about what Gary just said, and honest to gosh, for the amount of time that we spend on YouTube, I don't know about you guys, but versus every other streaming platform, I'm debating paying for no commercials on YouTube. It is the most annoying thing.
$9.99 a month or a year?
It would be a month, I
It's
think.
a month. But here's the beautiful thing as content creators is when people buy and pay that, and then they come to watch your video, then you get paid. Otherwise, if they hit skip, you don't get paid.
No, you do get paid.
I was told you didn't get paid if they hit skip.
Oh, if they hit skip, you don't get paid. You're right. Sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. I totally.
If they're subscribed
on your stream on your video, you don't get paid.
Sorry, Tim.
You don't get paid if they hit skip on your videos. Like if an ad's on your particular video, Candace or Ryan, and they hit skip the ad, you don't get anything.
No, but YouTube, it does pretty well. I know it's annoying for people, but YouTube does pretty well at forcing ads that you can't skip in there every now and then.
They do.
So it's good for the creator.
Frankly, I like them. They are much better than what I'm seeing on this TV. I've seen some stuff on YouTube ads I think are exceptionally clever.
Have you noticed that they're local ads?
No, but
they're
local ads because
they
AI
are
is picking up on it.
YouTube will cater the ads to you because they know what you watch, they know what you like, so they're going to give you ads of things that you like.
Yeah, you're right, Candace. Because I'm telling you right now, if I had the ability to delete or skip that ad with the children playing the instruments badly and the teacher mother, whatever she is, in the car.
Well, the only ad before I went to paid YouTube was every so often they give me a French ad, and I'm like, what would make you think I watch anything in French?
Yeah,
Candace,
Red Taco said that too.
It blows my freaking mind because ever since I've went, obviously I live in Calgary. Every time I go to Ottawa and visit, I guess it's because I'm using my Google account in Ottawa, very close to the Quebec border. I'll get back to Calgary and voulez-vous français? I'm like, oh, I can't skip the ads. I have no clue what they're saying. I'm like, I'm 3,000 kilometers away, bro.
If you want if you want some fun, I attempt to speak in French on my video that's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, geez. And do you speak French at all normally?
No, I just, I know a few words, but, I tried to, I made an attempt.
Listen, I make an attempt almost every time I'm talking to my French team. And really, all I think that they want me to do is fermer la bouche.
Oh.
They want me to shut my mouth.
Yes.
Listen, my mother taught me a few words. Fermer la porte, fermer la fenêtre. So close the door, close the window, and close your mouth.
I know how to swear in French.
Yeah, what's that?
It's like, oh, tabernacle, mon esti, mon sacrement.
Marie Claude is probably killing herself laughing right now.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, Mr. Red Taco says he knows some French words that are inappropriate too. That's so funny. Anyways, and no AC DATS 62. Tim is not looking for a new Lexus. It's what's on the TV here, continuously, in a loop. Ugh, makes me crazy. So it seems like a lot of the community members are paying for the YouTube Premium. I think we should try it out.
I think you're off your rocker.
It's expensive. $10 a month is expensive. But how much do you use YouTube? Because I will watch maybe a half an hour to 45 minutes of Amazon Prime a day, and it's the news. And then the rest of the time, I'm on YouTube, almost exclusively finding something, learning something, whatever. $10 a month is expensive just to go without ads. I can honestly say that. That's where I'm at.
Those only come on once you're monetized, right?
Sorry? What do you mean?
Those only come on once you're monetized.
No,
right?
YouTube's putting ads in front of your videos too. You're just not getting paid for it.
Oh,
are they?
Yeah, friggin' right. They changed the policy.
Can you imagine with Ken's marathon replays, how much money he could make with ads?
Honestly, I was thinking about once he's got someone on the hook who does the full 8 hours. Yeah, you're talking like $20 a person. Like,
Oh my
because
God.
yeah, it's gonna be insane. It'll be insane for him.
Okay, Ken, you got to get. Woof.
Wow. So okay, so we've talked about a lot of different things here. One of the things I did want to talk about, because it's Crypto Night in Canada, is the news that Fidelity is now going to allow some of their holders to put Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in their 401k. That's pretty big news.
That is.
Now, there's a bunch of others that are not, like Vanguard has said, no, we still don't believe it. But I think this is a pretty big step forward. Candace, what do you think?
No, it's absolutely. I mean, there's so much. Amazingly enough, there is absolutely so much good news out there for Bitcoin. The fact that Bitcoin isn't exploding is probably a good indication that that recession is coming.
Yeah.
Because if this were normal economic times and all of this good stuff were happening to Bitcoin, we'd be doing insanely much better than we're doing now. So big news, good news. Maybe
I think the only issue is that there's just no new people. You can have all the good news in the world you want, but if we're just recycling our own cash, the price isn't going anywhere, right? So all this good news, it means nothing if they're just telling it to the same 5 people in the room over and over. And that's my only shtick.
You see, and that's part of the reason that this economic environment is hurting crypto, is the fact that you just don't have people who have the cash to be new people coming in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it makes it hard.
There's a lot. It sounds like there's a lot of stale topics. Like, I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah. And
like go ahead.
One small downside right now is that a lot of ETFs who are doing Bitcoin and crypto, they've had people cashing out.
Oh.
So there's that happening as well. And that could very well be because of taxes, people just trying to utilize to get money. But,
that, and honestly, Candace, okay, if this is my friend telling me that her bills in Massachusetts have quadrupled, and you're not prepared for that, it's not like your salary has quadrupled. If all of a sudden your gas for your car is gone up, your groceries have gone up, your basic necessity, your water, your hydro, your electricity, your basic bills have quadrupled. I honestly, where are people going to get it? They've got to cash in.
Yeah, or else the crime rate's going to start to go up too.
I think that will be a thing. I really do. I really think that's going to be a thing. We're going to see theft happening left, right, and center. We were talking about this on a stream, a couple weeks ago, about the people's catalytic converters being stolen right out of their, like at shopping malls. The thieves are going right up in the shopping mall and they're stealing catalytic converters because they're getting about $700 a piece for them. That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, you may have to work at home just to protect your property.
Wow. What's going on with Gary? We're saying congrats, Gary. What's going on, Gary?
257-day streak.
Yay!
See, and the moment we start talking about it, guess what happens?
He 10 days it tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Red Taco. There's only 3 people that have liked the stream. It'd be really great if we could get a few likes, just if you like this.
3 people that have liked
well,
the stream.
Mr. Red Taco said so.
No, he has to hit refresh. I think we have 19.
Oh,
I'm
thank
seeing
you.
19 as well. So.
Oh, good. I'm just following the comments.
What letters does that start with?
Listen, and I've had nothing but water and tea. So there you go. You can tell we're total vacation people now.
Did you see that CNBC article I posted on Crypto Night in Canada Facebook page that they now, I forget who it was, California, wanted to start or consider taxing robots, people that were using robots and AI? Like,
yeah.
Did you see that?
100. California, man.
California will tax anything.
How are they got people living there? Like, how are people
the
living
beach.
there?
Yeah, the beach.
Well, they got
It's
beaches
hilarious.
on this coast too, and they're not taxing things like
That
robots here.
that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Like,
It is.
This is we're all very quiet tonight.
I
There's
know,
nothing controversial.
It's a mellow.
Okay, maybe I'll jump into something slightly controversial.
Yeah, throw up
Controversial.
controversy.
Am I by a vowel with that?
My God, I need to get back into my regular world. I'm losing my speech. I'm losing everything.
Well, it was all those alphagettis you ate last night.
Oh, and you losing your speech is not entirely a bad thing.
Woke up and had that vowel movement.
Not.
Nice.
Weird. You're so weird. Okay, so it was the funniest thing. Last week, Ken was doing a stream on Thursday night, and he and Nate got talking about, and I think we've had a little slight misunderstanding, and so I'm clearing it up. I'm clearing it up here and now. So
Oh, the corn thing.
pardon?
Yeah. Clear it up. The corn thing or whatever.
He is convinced that that all people need to do is just go to a local farmer and buy their stuff from a local farmer and modify what they're eating. And because I keep bringing up seafood, that maybe that's just like, that's not realistic for most people. So let me just park the train a little bit. The reason I bring up seafood is because my seafood supplier is my most active, the one that gives me the most updates. So I have an idea what's going on in the foreign trade. I talk to her on quite a regular basis, like pretty much weekly. So I use seafood as an example, but you could substitute anything for that. You can substitute plastic cups. You could substitute apples. You could substitute anything for that. And, it's an interesting thing because Ken and Nate are really actually quite lucky because they live in suburban areas. Nate, not so much, but Ken lives in a suburban area that butts up against a rural area where there's growers that grow down there. So it's easy for both of them to just drive over to their local farmer and pick stuff up. Well, I could sure tell you that what happened in the recession when my kids were living in downtown Toronto in a condo together, they were living at King and Spadina, right in the heart of downtown Toronto. And when the pandemic, sorry, I'm vacation brain. And
I'm Tim, by the way.
Yes, thank you. And what was happening with those guys is because that was in the days when everybody was afraid to even go and get on a streetcar, go and do anything. They were afraid. And so people were shopping at their local, whatever was the closest local grocer that was from the condos. And people were lining up. They were out lining up and around the corners. And if you weren't there at least 6 a.m., which was 2 hours before the grocery store opened, you were in jeopardy of not getting chicken, milk, bread, eggs, butter, the basic necessities. You were in jeopardy of not getting. Now, our kids were lucky because they had a car they shared. And so my son would get the grocery list and he was driving further and further and further and further out into away from the city in order to try to get some staples. And even Instacart or any of those grocery shopping delivery services, you could place your order on a Tuesday and you would get it in 2 weeks. That's how bad it was. So it's not always feasible. So that the solution that Ken thinks is that you could go and just go to a farmer. That works if you are lucky enough to live up and butt up against where there's rural areas. The second thing that I think I need to clear up is, yes, you see fields and fields and fields and fields of corn growing at all. We're lucky in Canada. We can see all that stuff. But here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that all of those crops are pre-bought. So I'll give you 2 examples. So example 1, we have Tim's got a really good friend whose family lives in Blenheim, Ontario, which is down sort of in that Windsor, Chatham, Leamington area. And they have, I think they've got 50 acres. And they grow peppers, red and green peppers. That crop has been pre-bought. The entire crop has been pre-bought by Wendy's. They buy that crop for the chili to put in their chili.
Oh.
I know Campbell's Soup. I know a bunch of them. They go and they have certain farmers that they pre-buy. They have contracts. So those farmers aren't really allowed to sell. Even they might have a little bit at the end that they could put at the roadside stand. But if you are contracted with a big company, every ounce that comes out of that soil belongs to that company that's pre-bought that stuff. Same thing with my girlfriend that I'm visiting up here. She lives again in Massachusetts, and their family they are cranberry growers. They grow for Ocean Spray. They're part of a cooperative. Ocean Spray is a cooperative, if people didn't know that. All the growers are also the owners of the company that produced the juice and the cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving, whatever. Mm-hmm. And she said that her crops are all spoken for. She can't sell to an independent. If they all go and they're graded by Ocean Spray and they make their money, they either make good money or not, what depends on how the year is going. They live and breathe and die off of Ocean Spray. So agriculture isn't just simple like, oh, there's fields and fields and fields. If that stuff is spoken for, we ain't getting our hands on that. No way. And so this is where I'm saying that if you look at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and you look at, okay, so why I keep saying this over and over, this is really super important. I say it and I say it and I say it. And I don't think people are really believing me, but this is the truth of the matter. If Ukraine isn't going to produce anything this year, which seems highly unlikely that we're going to get much out of Ukraine because they're fighting for their lives over there, that means a third of the world's wheat is gone out of the system. So what's going to happen is there's going to be bidding wars here in anywhere else that has good growing and arable soil and good growing regions. There's going to be bidding wars for those crops. So we just don't even know the fallout of what this is going to look like yet, because as I said, like Campbell's Soup pre-buys fields. They have the same growers. They have the same, because they have to inspect it and they have to know where their food comes from for food safety. And like we trace everything in the food industry. Everything is traceable. So it's not a simple thing.
No, I mean, and if I were a farmer right now and I had wheat crops, I'd be looking to see who's going to be my biggest buyer.
Of course you would, because that's your job. That's your job to provide for your family. Farming is hard.
Shouldn't this put the farmers in a bit more of a position, a positive position to do, or do you think that because they become because they belong to a co-op that they're spoken for on their behalf regardless and they have to go with majority? I don't know quite.
It would depend on how deep their contracts go with cycle timing probably, but like I would say the lucky farmers probably are only tied up for 12 months and then can maybe make some other decisions next year if they wanted to. But maybe Nancy would know, how long are these farmers tied? Like if they saw, is it crop by crop, year by year, or is it like a 5-year lease almost?
I'm not completely sure, but you know, and there's out clauses. There's out clauses to everything. I have out clauses in all of my contracts that I put in, both for my protection and for the customer's protection.
And I mean, right? You think if a new buyer is going to pay you double what the old buyer's paying, the out clause is probably worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you share the screen that I just put up for you guys.
Hang on one sec.
I just needed to. Okay.
So this is wheat pricing. Okay. So I brought up 40-year wheat pricing so that you guys can see historical chart, yada, yada, yada. These gray bars are recession. Okay. So the last time we saw wheat pricing spike like this was in 2008. We all know what happened after 2008. So this is the spike now, obviously matching 2008's kind of spike, right? We haven't had a recession yet. So it'll probably spike way, way, way freaking worse, way freaking higher. And it's going to be amazing for all these wheat producers. But anyway, the 40-year makes it look really daunting. Oh, and by the way, so look at these spikes and what was followed right after. Every single one of these spikes, you're noticing a gray bar, a recession, right? One more indicator. So I'm just, they're everywhere, all these indicators, but just wanted to bring that up.
That chart that you just showed too, I mean, how many of those spikes and peaks and valleys also had a world event like a war going on or something like that, right? Like, we don't know what it's going to do to this spike this time
We don't know.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
We
And
don't
it's not
know.
even just a war. I mean, we've just got out of that major illness. We have a lot of factors. It's almost like a perfect storm of a recession that could be coming. It could, I dare say, even get as far as a depression.
Yeah, because okay, so let's define a depression, because I think people get scared about it because they think of the Great Depression that lasted for 10 years. But a depression, so a recession is 3 months, right, of negative economic growth. Is that correct? And a depression is, what is it, beyond 6? Is that what it is for a depression?
No, it's the amount that you have just going down. Like, I think it's like if you have more than 25% of your population unemployed and your GDP is down more than 25%. So all of these factors all put together then become a depression. Like, we've only had one.
So I'm just looking, just because like I wanted to just bring up a definition from the National Bureau of Economic Research. Apparently, a depression includes 2 general rules. I'm learning this. I just wanted to bring this up because I didn't know what the rules were. To Candace's point, a decline in real GDP exceeding 10% is one of the 2 rules, or a recession lasting longer than 2 years. So obviously it would be prolonged recession. So, but I just learned that myself. So I just wanted to bring up the definition according to them.
I'm wondering whether okay, so we talked about this last week, that George Gammon video where he talks about stagflation happening, that the feds will, this is a serious thing that Tim and I haven't locked our mortgage rate in yet, and we've been talking about it a lot, because here's the thing. I have a point, I promise. As the feds keep bumping the rates up and bumping the rates up and bumping the rates up, because what they're trying to do is cool down this inflation, right? But then all of a sudden, when it swings down into a recession, nobody wants a recession to stay there for very long. So the only 2 tools, there's only 2 things the feds can do. One, they can pump liquidity into the marketplace, or 2, they can drop the rates again. Here's the thing. If they pump liquidity into the marketplace, we're just going to spiral back to where we are right now. So there is a theory that they are going to then drastically drop the rates again to try to spark and stimulate the economy again. So then Tim and I are like, do we ride this variable rate for as long as we can and see what happens? Because I think that's going to be the play. I don't think they're going to dump a ton of liquidity back in the marketplace. It doesn't.
We don't know though, because this time is very unique. Like this, like Candace said, I think she described it perfectly, that this is a perfect storm. Every indicator tells us, I mean, it's like if this didn't turn into be a recession, it would be in the textbooks for people would be learning about how we were so wrong on this. But I wonder though, because every other time the American dollar, world reserve, power, strength, period. Now it's not as much, when at least the Eastern Bloc is totally separating itself from the dominance of the US dollar. So, if we go into an economic depression, would that not be the best time to absolutely slice the throat of the American dollar for everyone else and to step up, which would then prolong another quarter of declining, say, GDP, lesser value in your dollar economically? That would be the only thing, because obviously they can manipulate their way out of a recession. They've done it every single time. They've got the tools to do it, and manipulate's not even a bad word in this case. Like they can do things. Nancy was just describing it. But what are they going to have to do though if their dollar is total shit as compared to what it was in 2008 when everyone wanted it? You know what I mean? That would be the only thing that I'm really interested in watching. So I'm like, the decline of the American dollar right now that Ray Dalio video tripped me right out. But anyway.
And one of the interesting things too is I think they're going to just let it. I think they're going to let it run. I don't think they're going to do anything to get out of it. I think they're going to let it run for a bit.
There's a lot of narrative right now that the Fed is not going to make the same mistake, and I bet the Bank of Canada won't either, but they're not going to make the same mistakes that they made in 2008. There's no bailouts. If you're done, you're done. That seems to be like a narrative on CNBC that's going around. But also keep this in mind. How well do you think politically, do you think you really believe there'll be more bailouts and stuff? I don't think they're going to be bailouts like on the level like 2000. I bet you there's going to be companies that just go under, and absolutely go under. Just the narrative I was listening. Now, Jim Cramer's a friggin' wingnut, but he was interviewing a CEO and they were talking about they can't get federal funding. Their access to loans for federal loans is going totally down. And it's like all these little things, like they know something's brewing. They're saving cash. It's just, I can't put the pieces together without putting a tinfoil hat on and making it completely up myself because they don't tell us. But it's just these little things that always trip me right out, because if they're not going to be bailing anything out this time, and you have weakness in the American dollar, and you have a massive downswing, the likes the NASDAQ has like never seen. This is the worst month the NASDAQ has like ever seen. Don't quote me. If it's not the worst, it's the second. Okay. But I don't know. It's really unique, but it also seems weird to me because it's like a slow drip. Like it's death by 1,000 cuts almost, because it doesn't seem like we've had that day where it's like, oh my gosh, the market's crashed. It's been like 6 months of just bleeding.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing. I don't know. It's very weird.
You know what's interesting, Ryan, is that not many years ago, but I owned a driving school for 3 decades. And in large operation, very large operation, so on and so forth, sold off parts of it, so on and so forth. And the accountant said to me one time, he says, if you're not making money and you're pumping money into it, why are you in business? You got to let the circle of life just figure this out. And if it means that you go this way and have to shut the business down, then that's what you've got to do, because that's the natural course of, or if it survives and it goes this way, then that's the natural course. But what you're doing is what I was doing at some point was feeding money into it personally, which is the government feeding money into our society, right? And you're just boosting the inevitable, and you're not kicking the bird out of the nest to see what it's going to do on its own. That's freaking scary as a business owner. That's freaking scary. Now, thank God, I had Nance who was going up the corporate ladder, so on and so forth. And I was lucky enough. I've never gone bankrupt, but I was lucky enough to sell my business.
It's fun. That was a really good analogy in comparison, actually. I kind of like that, because actually, I don't want to turn this into a political thing or whatever, but I like that comparison analogy that we're pumping.
Brian, it's not political. It's business sense. That's what I believe. We have a systemic problem in I'll suggest in government that we don't have enough small business owners who, I've said it before, I'll say it again, have had to make decisions like that, have had to look across the table at Christmas and lay people off and know that it's their money they're playing with, not other people's money. You have a different lens when it's your money and it's your ass on the line. But
you hear some crazy stuff talking about
isn't made that way, and we continue to let them run it. There's nothing we can do to change it. It's just, what if it's nice to dream that if we had someone thinking, I know, but
I don't think we've set ourselves up to be capitalists anymore. Like, I think there used to be, you know how you hear about the American dream, that you can go to the US and you could make anything of yourself. And we in Canada had jumped on that bandwagon pretty much. You want to come and you want to work hard and you can build anything you want to. That was always what I was taught growing up. Hard work, you have a vision, you want to do something, go for it and try. But we've slowly eroded not the desire out of people, but we've crippled their ability to do it, because we've taxed the heck out of business, because we've somehow villainized people who are entrepreneurial and who are striving for something. And we've said, no, they've got to pay their fair share. They need that money to innovate. We need to give them the tax breaks so they can innovate and they develop and they blossom their business, so they can hire more people, so that we can produce more things in society. When we don't produce anything, this is where we're at. We're not producing anything in this country.
We're creating a small business anxiety is what we're doing.
That's what it is like we've almost made it to the point where we've exaggerated the risks associated with entrepreneurial spirit and anything like that. And we've overemphasized the benefits to the regular 9-to-5 job that a lot of people love. I'm not ever going to knock it. Some people love it. Some people don't. I couldn't actually be 9-to-5. That's not. So it's just, some people are wired certain ways. I was the worst employee ever, but like, we've made it to the point where people are afraid to do that one thing that they were thinking about doing 20 years ago. I don't know what it was like when you guys were growing up. Being an entrepreneur, I remember going to high school and it was like the guidance counselors, the teachers, they're like, you want to be an entrepreneur? You know, you're not going to make money for 5 years starting a business. And I'm like, where did you learn that? Like, I don't know a single small business owner who's not making money in their first freaking month or two because you can't sustain yourself. It's simple as that. There's no profit. You're not sustaining yourself as a small business. So it's like, I always hear these backward logic things when I was growing up. Like, you're not going to make money for years and years. It's like, well, you've clearly never tried it because that's bullshit. And you're content with your $55,000 a year job. And that's cool. But don't tell me about my life going forward. I find that, Tim, you nailed it. People are discouraged away from taking risks in Canada. Risks are one of those things. You have time when you're young to take more and bigger risks. Entrepreneurialism has massive benefits because even when something doesn't work, you learn more about how to sustain yourself as a person in that moment than you will in 5 years as a punch clock guy.
Do you know what?
Simple as that.
I think that more people need to get out and have a newspaper route. Now, here's why.
I don't think they exist anymore.
You get paid cash. I know. Work with me, Candace. Work with me.
Lemonade stand.
Oh, for God's sake! Let me have my.
Duck once came up to a lemonade stand, but it wanted great.
Jeez, talk about a sour attitude. Anyway, but what do you learn as having to deliver papers? You've got responsibility. You got to go out in shitty weather, and it's only you and only that you can count on to do it. And you get paid money to get that baseball glove, that whatever it is, right? It's not big goals. It's just intermediate things that you're getting. But a newspaper route, I swear to God, teaches someone about very, very gently owning their own business. Even though they're working for the man, they're still learning the principles of their own business, or the lemonade stand, Candace, or
anything.
I don't know, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can do Dickie D's in the summer still, I think.
Oh, the Dickie D business. We tried to do. We almost bought a Dickie D bicycle thing for the kids, and we had it all convinced. We had the kids convinced. We said to them, "We'll partner with you." And we gave them the whole scenario, and we even said that we could get their friends to do it.
Bank wouldn't do the loan because it was frozen assets, right? So.
No,
no.
But you know what was funny is now they permit everything. They permit everything. Everything needed a permit, and then it was like, how are you going to keep everything cold? Then you were driving.
That was the biggest problem. Was the region of Halton region, the health department in the region of Halton, which is where we're going back to. Their biggest thing was, how do you keep that cold? And so we looked at the dry ice, we looked at this and that, and you wouldn't believe how much of a problem that actually is when you've got someone out there working for you. And it's like, well, are they responsible enough to know to temp it? And what happens if, all of a sudden, the Dickie D inspector comes along and says, lift your hood, it's like, right?
The Dickie D would have been a good idea. Dickie D's. That was my brother when he was little. When he was a little guy, that was what he dreamed. That's what he told everybody when you asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. I want to be the Dickie D boy.
Okay, you guys want to hear something?
If I was on that, riding that, they would have said that I was a popsicle. So, cycle pop.
Yeah, I got it. That was funny. You're on a roll. Like, this vacation's been good for your jokes.
So, okay, let me tell you this story about how business is about to be rocked. And this is why I can guarantee you that there will be a recession. There has to be, because businesses are already facing it. So my parents run their construction gigs, yada, yada, yada. And they've had the same customers forever. And I mean, devastating loyalty you've never seen with customers. My dad's not the cheapest, because you don't want to hire the cheapest guy. You hire good quality. You stick with him for 20 years. That's how my dad has operated, and that's the way it goes. There's no advertising. It's just, you know what I mean? 20 years, this company. I'm not going to mention their names, but they're dead to us. Anyway, they call my dad. So they're done. They had to hire a new fly-by-night, work-for-free insulator, because those companies, they start up. They're like, no, I'll steal everyone's customers, work for free, and then eventually you raise the rates. They're fired. It's chaos for everyone, right? But anyway, so this company comes in, takes them. The home builder left. The 20 years relationship. This is happening all over the place, by the way. Why did the home builders leave? They sold these houses last year, 2 years ago, okay? And we're building them right now. So the pricing's locked, but the cost of goods sold, the cost of goods has increased between 25 and 75% across the board. So now they're building houses that they're losing money on, and they're firing their 20-year contractors to hire fly-by-night guys, thinking that that's the only way they can stay in business, okay? And you're having cancellations nonstop. All the while, I'm looking at them like they're dickheads. No, it's just that's the cycle of life, like you were talking about, Tim, with business. Because my parents had to lose them now. Now they have to go do other contracts and whatever the heck they're doing. I think they got another one to replace it. But it's like we don't realize how badly these businesses are dying and how it impacts. Like my dad has between 10 and 20 employees at any time. It's like he shuts down because they're paying too much. There's 10, 20 guys right there. There are very unhappy homeowners that are going to get shitty quality now in this place. And they're going to lay off another 5 to 10 guys because they can't afford it. There's about 20, 30 people right there with just one business connection.
But that's
One
because
connection.
everybody bought a bill of goods that, everybody was saying real estate, real estate, real estate. They dumped the rates so much that everybody was buying. And because we've heard this from friends too. Well, get into a new build because you don't have to tie up all your capital, but you can secure something down, I actually feel sorry for those people who raced in to buy a new build for the exact reason you just said, Ryan, because they're going to get screwed. I've had a few friends that when they went to go get possession of their home that they put a deposit on, that they had a contract that they had agreed upon, and they were told you have to pay us $100,000 more. Well, they don't have the money for that. They didn't get the mortgage approval for that. And if you don't think that we're here seeing that in homes, new home builds, and what Ryan just said, if you do not think that is exactly what's going to happen with food growers
Exactly.
when they get a contract, oh, so the peppers are available and we've got a contract, we're going to do all this, we'll give you the peppers. Oh, but then the folks from Saudi Arabia that can't grow anything in that country and have boatloads of cash come in, do you really think that a farmer might not give their crop to the highest bidder?
Of course they will. Look at what happened in agriculture when weed was legalized in Canada. How many farms immediately said, screw your tomatoes and your lettuce and your this and this and this. My greenhouse is going to the highest bidder and we're growing pot. How did that changed Ontario's landscape for agriculture? I mean, we see them all over Saskatchewan. They're all over Alberta. Like that used to grow produce and now it grows drugs. I smoke weed. I'm just like, of course they're going to go to the highest bidder. Of course. And that's just bad for us. But
it's interesting that Nancy brought that up because, our current government will bring in a law coming down on foreign home purchasers, but they won't come down and bring a law on or create a law. And maybe maybe I'm stirring the pot. I don't know where I'm going with this, but a law that says to farmers, hold on, you can't go and debunk this person who you promised and made a deal to for the highest bidder out of Dubai. There's a law against that.
But then at what point why would we stifle their own ability for free market and their own enterprising? Like that would be my thing is like, if they are at a point where they're selling it to someone else, then we are obviously not a valuable consumer to them. And therefore maybe we need to step up to the plate if we want their product.
Right.
I mean, if you want a mating, sorry, Nancy.
No, I was just going to say, this is my friend Debbie, the one that has the cranberry farm. See, trust me, farming's not easy and we're taxed and insured to death.
I can only imagine more red tape over a farmer is the last thing this planet needs right now.
Right.
Look at the
I don't know if I'd want to be a pot farmer. That just wouldn't pan out.
Oh God, I like it. Nice. Okay. Pots and okay, nice.
Yeah, but Mr. Red Taco says that where do you draw the line though? Like where do you draw the line? I'm biased, so limiting a farmer seems like, okay, look at our dairy industry here in Canada.
we give them every single opportunity and handout you could possibly imagine in Canada, okay? Then that's because the dairy lobby in the United States is so big, they would overwhelm us almost instantly, and that's to protect Canadian farmers and yada, yada, yada. What that does, though, is it means we pay more for milk. It means the supply chain around milk is very unique. They're sometimes called a cartel in Canada. Like the milk is very overpriced because of the protections that we've put in place for the Canadian farmer. So at what point are you willing to say and step up and pay more for these things? I don't want to pay more for chicken. I don't want to pay more for beef. I don't want to pay $1 more. That's me. Like,
I know, but so, and it does become very tricky because the milk, I think I told you guys this about the milk producers. What happened when we did that deal, that free trade deal with the US, it actually really screwed us royally because when the US was having trouble with their milk production, and they immediately, when the US has trouble with something, they focus in on their own country, as they should, and they supply to their own country. And we got screwed over on that because a lot of the farmers, the dairy farmers up here, where they saw the subsidies come down because they couldn't compete with the US milk coming across the border, they started to harvest some of their cattle. So the cattle's gone. Now we don't have the producers that we had in our own country because that one deal happened. So I'm not sure what the fine line is. Mr. Red Taco's right.
This is the thing though with Canada though, Nancy. Like, so the United States has a much easier time saying, be American, buy American, build American, do it all here. They have the infrastructure and everyone is really freaking close. We have 1/10 of the population and like double the land mass. Don't quote me on the number, but we're so spread out that the infrastructure we have in place makes it next to impossible to build things on our own. So maybe that's why they're trying to boost up immigration. I mean, we need 100 million, 200 million people in Canada before we can really strong arm anything. That's just my, sorry, I'm just reading some of these comments. That's just my thing but at what point though, again, knowing that Canada is not in a position like the United States is, how much are you willing to pay to guarantee things are made here? Because I don't, you know what I mean? Because that's where the fine line comes in, is like, are you willing to pay more for this? Because it's going to cost us money to build the infrastructure. Are you willing to pay more for this chicken breast? Or are you okay knowing that it comes from Louisiana or Kentucky or whatever the hell, and it looks the same, it tastes the same, whatever? For me, that's the only thing, is like, it's too expensive in my lifetime. I'm not going to see Canada with 100 million people. I highly doubt I would see 100 million people in Canada before I die. And it's like, it's next to impossible for Canada to even replicate what the United States has going on. So why are we even trying? Like, to make made in Canada sweater is $80. You go to Walmart, you can buy one for $10. Like,
unless we start focusing on innovation, unless we start having robots doing a lot of what the general laborers don't want to do anymore. If we can figure out how to automate and we become a niche in something, we've become a niche in nothing. That's the problem.
Well, I think we've got the lockdowns pretty good.
You're right.
We're pretty good on that.
We knew how to lock people down up here. We were good at that.
I don't know. China seems to be able to do it better than we can.
You're right, Candace.
True.
China does have the ability that they're very much better than we are. You're right about that.
one day we'll get there. We'll be just as good with enough practice.
No, it's so totally true. So switching gears, it's time for the metaverse. So let's talk. We will have our metaverse chit chat brought to us by Mountain Finance. Candace.
All right. Welcome once again to another metaverse. Seems like we have too many times like this where we're actually talking about who's fallen the least. And that's kind of where we're at again. But kicking it off at number 10, we have Engine. They made it back in, and they made it in by falling by 14.6%. So that's a feat all on its own. But that's going to be kind of a little bit of a theme. We move into 9. We have Mana. They were at 10 last week. They're hanging around. They actually fell 15.1%.
Wow.
Number 8 is our number 2 from last week, Victoria VR. Them and their realistic engine. They fell 18% on their return on investment. And we have a brand new one who we have never seen before in at number 7, and that is Atari. Now, they only fell 2.9%. Now, they don't actually have a game, and you probably, when you see Atari, you're thinking of the old gaming system. So you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, they should be all about gaming. But in this case, they are basically a token that they want to use across multiple games. They also have a thing that called the Atari Dex, which will be a swapping system. Right now, you can only swap between Atari ETH and FTM, but they're trying to bring more coins into that. And their big goal is to allow developers to integrate their coin, their Atari token, into their games for a way to move between different tokens when it comes to gaming. So kind of a different idea, but they're in at number 7. Number 6 was last week's number 1, the one I can't pronounce, Genshoi Kishi Metaverse. They were down 12%. Back on the list is OVR. We haven't seen them in a while. Now, they had a return on investment of absolutely nothing. So that's kind of different for them. They are a decentralized infrastructure for the AR metaverse. And this is the one that you can use with mobile devices and smart glasses. So it's pretty cool. And they do have some pretty good staking rewards. In at number 4 is our Avagachi, which is, of course, our Tamagotchi clone. They were down 2.9%. The Sandbox has managed to move up from 5 to 3. They were down 13.4%, but their game is coming along. Their alpha is starting to build. The last time I was in there, I actually did. They have a game for Snoop Dogg where you're going around and you're finding his joints and things like that. And it's different, but it was playable.
Huh.
Number 2, which was last week, number 7, are the Neo credits. So they're basically that peer-to-peer real-time collaboration platform. And that's what we're seeing a lot more of lately is not the games, but more or less the things that are supporting them. They seem to be doing better than the games right now. They were up 2.5%. And our number 1 was Spheroid Universe. We've seen them before. They were up 15.3%. They were pretty much the only coin that made double digits. Well, pretty much one of the only coins to even make a positive this week in the metaverse. So they're basically, once again, they're a platform for developing extended reality projects. It's hard to say too much more about them. They do have their own programming language. It's called Spherical Script. And it's all for AR, XR creation. So that's kind of the theme this week is things that are supporting the metaverse seem to be doing well in the metaverse.
Awesome. I love it.
All right. Now the stocks. I'm pretty sure every single stock was down. Actually, I know it was because when I opened up my big watch list that has all of these stocks in it, the entire list was red. Everything red, not a single green in it anywhere. It was horrible. Number 7, we have Apple. Now, Apple was actually up 0.01%. So they were the only ones, I think. But they fell to number 7. Number 6, we had Qualcomm. They were our number 7 from last week. They fell 3.53%. One theme you will see on the stock side is that our chip manufacturers seem to be making a little bit of a resurgence in the list, which is kind of good because they had fallen really hard last month. And speaking of chips, in at number 5, we've got Intel, and they were down 5.80%. But overall, this current red wave that we're having isn't hitting our chip manufacturers quite as bad as a lot of the tech companies. Number 4 was our Planet Labs. They were down 9.06%. And I still love these guys. The fact that they have satellites and they have more information about the planet than any other company, to me is pretty exciting. Number 3, we have Equix. They were at number 2 last week. And once again, this is more infrastructure for the metaverse. That's what they're all about. They were down 6%. Number two, we haven't seen these guys in a while. It's EA. They're back on. They were only down 0.78%. And they are once again looking to monetize some of their core games, especially football, which was formerly FIFA. They're looking to bring in NFTs, but the whole NFT market just seems to be kind of cooling down a little bit now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another interesting thing.
Yeah.
Number one, Microsoft. They were down 0.67%. They were at 4 last week. They've moved back up to the top spot. They seem to be doing good. They're doing quite a bit. And I still am pretty excited about the whole Microsoft Dynamics 365 connected spaces. That's going to be that conversation we had last week about working at home, but at work at the same time. That's going to be kind of that technology that will allow stuff like that to happen. So overall, pretty bad week on the market.
So thank you, Candace. I appreciate that every week. It does give us some insight. What I want to go back and circle around on is you said the chip companies were or seem to be. How did you say that? We're in here, but we're making a resurgence. Was that what you were saying?
Anything that was supporting.
Chips.
Okay.
Okay, there was two different things. One is that things involved in the background, things involved with the infrastructure, the back-end technology of the metaverse seems to be doing okay. The games, pretty much nothing burgers all around. And when you go to the stocks, if you think about it, chip manufacturers are supporting that infrastructure as well, and they're doing well. Is that by mistake? I don't know, but I think it's kind of a coincidence enough to make me go,
Chips also got slammed abnormally, like in the last little while. So them coming back is notable for sure, but they were hit really freaking hard in the last 3 to 4 weeks. I think Candace knows this if she's invested in any, but they got really knocked off before a lot of the other people. So maybe this could be, if, for instance, if the chips are a forward indicator, this could be a wicked sign, for obviously like a rebound, but the chips are rebounding, but they were hit first and hard.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bridge it somehow to, are we now going to see it come across the industry that, we're going to see cars flowing more, and we're going to see, like it's going to have more of a wider scope of getting other products that are reliant on chips moving as well.
Well, that might be interesting. I know I was, I was looking at a studio today, like a Mac studio, and even if I ordered one of those today, I'll be lucky to see it by the end of July.
Wow.
That's kind of the.
And what's interesting is that there's Toyota, Kia, GM, Chev, that are dealerships that are on our stretch that we frequent a lot down here, and and maybe Mazda, and it seems that the Mazda and not the GM, the Chev dealership have stock. The other ones, nothing. And I was talking to Debbie the other night, and I said to her, I wonder if we will see, because of what's going on in the car industry, what's going on with the chips, what's going on with the economy, blah, 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 blah. If we will see that GM and Chevy dealerships will go back together like they used to be. Lincoln and Ford will go back as they used to be. Ryan, you're the car industry guy.
They're already like that, so it really just depends on your market demographic. But
they're separate dealerships. Like, I'm just thinking.
But for instance, you could go to downtown Toronto, and it will be a linked dealership.
Maybe I said it wrong. I'm saying that you have a dealership for Lincoln and you have a dealership for Ford. You have two dealerships. I'm saying, at what point do the principals of those dealerships, or do the manufacturers amalgamate them so they're all on one lot?
Yeah. Okay. So in Ottawa, they started. Yeah. So in Ottawa, they started doing this. Last time I was there, I noticed it for GM. That was the only brand I noticed it for. Or you know what? I'm so unfamiliar with this brand, but they were bringing Cadillac back into the dealer group, and they were kind of amalgamating the lots, basically. So what you're saying, I think that makes 100% sense. Not a lot is up to the individual dealer manager. to be honest, a lot of it's already like pre-allocated. Some companies truly were ahead of the freaking curve. They just knew what was going on, because if you go into like a friggin' Honda dealership, for instance, their lots are looking dry. You go into a Ford, looking dry. I don't know what it's looking like, but Dodge, they were on top of it. Mazda has cars all over the place here. You're probably going to see amalgamation, but quite honestly, dude, I could see that amalgamation is only going to solve a small part of the problem. The rest, the whole negotiating for a car, that's dead. That will die. So like, it's going to be like in the States and like the Tesla model. This is the price. You pay it or you don't buy it. It is that simple. Carvana is the same. That's going to come.
So is that going to push the used car market as more as that happens and they get pushed away from new car and new car says, this is it, take it or leave it, or you're out of here? Is that now, are we now going to see a resurgence in the used car market?
Well,
even more than ever.
Look at the rest of the market and how it's been fluctuating like crazy. Used cars went up and plateaued. It ain't going anywhere. They've established a new bottom, unless there's a massive economic recession where they're going to price things out, but for just for the sake of the business, unless that were to happen, they've established that new bottom, right? In my opinion, because that's the biggest gravy train a dealer has anyway. So if the market's allowed them to raise the price by 30% and it's cool with it, that's never going away. Like, that's the only money they're making outside of the service department. So I think, but I'm thinking though, these lots are going to dry up and then they won't reopen. Like, because quite honestly, if I want a car and I know exactly what it is and there's no negotiating, I'm ordering online and I'll pick it up at your depot. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. And you can do financing over the phone. Look, how do you think they worked during the pandemic? All of this can be done with e-signatures and over the phone. You don't need to ever see a human being. The coronavirus proved that 100%. So we're going to adopt the American model, which is the Carvana, the buy it and like a vending machine, it'll get dropped off to you. That's going to happen in Canada.
We've got Canada Drives up there.
Canada Drives isn't quite like Carvana. Like, Carvana has taken Canada Drives to a whole new level. Canada Drives is primarily focused on subprime anyway. So like Canada, it's a totally like Carvana. When you see Canada's first true Carvana lookalike, it'll change the car buying game, because some people would rather just pay list price than deal with a dickhead salesman. I know a lot of people would rather do that. So it's going to be a unique shift. But what's happening with cars is, like, look to the United States. They've, like I said, they rose, they plateaued. That profit margin's not going anywhere. These used lots are still not being replenished. So they're probably just wiping out leases and they're gone. That's probably what's going to happen. Because why not?
What we're noticing, and I notice it in Brantford. I've noticed it down here at, I don't know the dealership, but they haven't got their brand on there. They're bringing in used cars and they're filling their lots that way. And that's the, I had, the engine went in my 2015 Equinox, right? Now, here's the bonus about that. Because I was using BG additives in every single part of my engine, I am eligible for up to $5,000 because BG ensures that nothing's going to go wrong with my engine. So, new engine installed. I have a price for $11,000. I have a price for $10,000. I have a price for $9,500. And the person said to me, she goes, at the dealer, not at the dealership, at the garage, she said, if you get $5,000 back from BG, your engine's 11, you're walking out of here having to pay 6 because the shape your car is in. Those cars are going for $18,000, $15,000 to $18,000. I'm thinking, holy man, I can turn a quick profit on that. That's a used car where the body and everything has 474,000 K on it. It's pristine. It's working. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Everything's been replaced, and a brand new rebuilt engine that's under warranty. Why wouldn't someone want that? Any takers?
Well, if your ownership has rebuild status on it, insurance, everything changes for it, right?
Does it?
Yeah, like I can't even take a rebuild. without it being a wholesale. Like I wouldn't be, it would be a whole different car, even if it was a brand new freaking car but had rebuild tag on it. It's yeah, it's lame like that. But yeah, to answer Taco's question, yeah, it's exactly why the prices aren't going to drop, is because it's the gravy train that we've given them. It's the same like all these price hikes that we've seen, they're not really going to come down to what they were before. This is the ultimate gravy train for business. They're not giving this up. But yeah.
But then
we talking about the price of gas, you mean? Because
No.
that's exactly what's happening in gas. It ain't coming back down.
price of everything.
It ain't
It's
coming
not
back
coming
down.
back down, which is why the NDP just came out and wanted to ask for
once you go after the
a
price of-
$20 minimum wage, because he
Jesus.
realizes.
Did you see that Candace Horvath is now saying, hang on, Ryan, wait till you get this. Are you sitting
Let's make
down
it $1
in
million.
front of the washroom? Listen, Horvath says they now are trying to get themselves as the party in waiting, and they're talking about did I say something funny? And a $20 minimum wage. I almost, my fingers are like this, poised on the thing, saying, "Are you off your effing?"
No, real talk. Fuck it. Why not 50? Let's do $50. Let's just do $50 an hour. That's logical. Everyone's super rich for about 2 months, and then a loaf of bread costs $49.99.
If it keeps going this way, my business card's going to say Tim Danter, professional bum on welfare.
$20 minimum wage makes me laugh.
That's crazy. Yes,
Yeah, it's stupid.
$20. It was in the it was on Instagram or some social media. I'm thinking these people are desperately throwing crap out, because for those of you not in Ontario, we're up for a provincial election in a month, eh?
Yeah, it's coming up.
The problem is that you $20 minimum wage, it affects everything. Like it increases the cost of everything. Like
we're about to go down a rabbit hole that is so friggin' stupid of explaining how $20 an hour hurts the entire country. This is so stupid. Okay, because half of the workforce is going to be fired or replaced by these robots. Have you guys gone to, okay, there's one restaurant in Calgary, blows my top off, okay? Their fry cooks are robots, and we can see them through glass. They're just dip, and it's like, okay, you wanted $15 an hour. They bought a robot. What's going to happen when you want $20 an hour? They're going to buy 2 robots, bro.
No, I will tell you this much, and I don't think it's a trade secret. I hope it's not a trade
Better
secret.
not say it.
But
Don't say it.
we've partnered with a company that's developed, we call it Alfie. Alfie this thing literally, you only need one person to run a line technically, because if you have Alfie set up across the way, the one person, all they need to do is be able to put all the food in the mise en place, in the drops, and then the Alfie arm goes in and it will do all the scooping. It will flip the steaks at the right time.
I hate to say this,
everything.
but like, look,
Alexis,
there's only so much you're actually worth when you're flipping burgers. I hate to say it, okay? Because a robot can flip a burger. We've made them now because you guys keep wanting more money to flip them. So it's one of those things. Higher minimum wage. The only people that hurts is minimum wage workers, FYI. So everyone else is going to be good. But if you're working minimum wage thinking that $20 an hour is going to help you, odds are you or your friend will be fired. And then you'll be bitching and moaning about the government and this and that and everything else, and you become all freaked out. That's what's going to happen. I mean, $20 an hour? Are we stupid? This is a rabbit hole that just triggers me, Nancy. I can't even believe we went down it.
I know.
$20 an hour.
Do you know what?
Well, the only thing I can think of is the fact that a robot's going to give me a perfect burger every time.
Every
Right.
damn time. Every
If
time.
you like
How
it
many of you?
medium rare, if you like it medium well, if you like it medium, perfectly medium, it will know, because it will have a temperature sensor that will go into it. And those are just temperature gauges.
Nothing's more annoying than going through a McDonald's drive-through knowing they're making $17 an hour, and you ask for a cheeseburger and some fries, and they somehow fuck it up. It's cold. It's like you had one job and you're paid very well for it to
And
literally flip a burger and give me some French fries, mother.
Especially at the drive-through, because they know you're probably not coming back, so they can extra screw you.
I just looked at my face. It's gone instantly red. This whole minimum wage combo, bruh, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Whatever.
Well, the thing is, is that I get where they're going, and Rick's not altogether wrong when he says that. I mean, I understand why they're saying this, because a lot of people are carrying too much debt, and if you did not have any assets going into what we've just gone through, then of course, that to survive, they're just taking on debt and more debt and more debt and more debt. But we're not going to solve this problem by increasing the minimum wage. That's just going to make our problems worse and worse and worse. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to solve the problem.
Well,
Those folks.
because people think that we have to fall forward into a solution when it comes to this. And that is the worst thing you do. You have to take a step back here. If you increase the minimum wage, you're going to go further into debt because your groceries will go up significantly. So if you get a double, let's just say you 2x your wage, okay? Groceries will be 3x because everything's passed down. So if the more people are in line, it'll be 3x, it'll be 4x, 5x. So you've actually made your situation significantly worse. Minimum wage people are going to have, well, half of them, like I said, a third will be fired right off the bat. And everyone else is just paying more. There's no logic in it. There's actually none, because they're like, let's provide a living wage. Well, it's like, okay, a living wage, but doesn't that mean that people actually have to keep the job though? Because it's not exactly a living wage if when it's introduced, a third of the workforce has to get fired. So that, you know what I mean? That's the free market telling you that it's a stupid decision.
Is this going to spawn people to come back to work? Number one. And number two, if they do come back to work and this play does work, it's just the government collecting more taxes.
That's all it is, man.
We're going to give it to you on this. We're going to give it to you in the left hand and take it away in the right hand.
Well, that's what inflation isn't. Inflation just a hidden tax? I think Candace said that once.
Yeah,
that's all it is, man.
Yeah. Good old inflation, because they're making a lot of extra money off of it. I mean, the government makes tax money hand over hand.
Not only that, when you go from $15 to $20, you're saying that full-time workers are likely going to change tax brackets. So right off the bat, right there, that's more income for the federal, provincial government. Okay, less in your pocket, despite what you think, because the prices have actually gone up. So you've jumped a bracket. You're paying more for your gas and groceries because that's the cost of these stupid decisions. And your take home, way less. Oh, and your best friends are fired. So the logic, I can't even talk straight.
So hang on. What happens? This is something I never thought about. We haven't talked about. What happens if, let's say, Ontario goes ahead, just for shits and giggles, raises to $20, and all the other provinces are stuck down lower?
Well, cost of living is all proportional. It doesn't make sense to live in Ontario. I mean, there's articles left and right of people leaving Ontario for the East Coast or out west, and it's because you guys are paying $3,000 for a condo in Toronto. Like everything's in proportion. I mean, you're like, for instance, the wage of a McDonald's worker in Fort Mac is well over $20 an hour, but it's because it's like $5 to buy an apple. You know what I mean? Like, it's all in proportion, but it just becomes, at that point, what that does is it marginalizes people and it separates them. So those who actually can't afford it, who don't have that, 80% of people are going to be okay. Then 20% are going to get lost in that transition and not be able to pay for they don't make proportional amount of money. They're going to have to leave, or they're going to be totally broke. Like, it's all proportional, but why would Ontario's got some of the highest taxes out there. You could pay me $20 an hour to work in Ontario, and I'll make more in Alberta making 15. Take home.
I know. So, but here's the other thing, and we don't talk about this often. We all have come to expect a life that none of us can really afford. I want to explain this a little bit. Go back to the 1950s to some of the cool movies that they used to shoot back in the 1950s. You would see two ladies sharing a bed sit, meaning they didn't each have, it wasn't like the Friends episode where Joey has a room and Chandler has a room and they have a living room and they have a kitchen in New York City. I don't even know how they afforded those apartments because they would be ridiculously expensive. But these were bed sits, meaning the living room couch pulled out and that became the bed that the two ladies shared, and they had a hot plate. I'm not saying that we all need to go back and be that like frugal, but these two ladies in all the movies, and you know what I'm talking about, all these ladies, it would become time for they would be hiding from the landlord because they didn't make enough because they had been out having drinks, and so they were running from the landlord because they couldn't pay the rent. Like, but they were two women living in a bed sit that probably cost a fraction of what people come out and they think, I deserve a this, or I deserve a 1,500 square foot place, and I deserve this and I deserve that. And meanwhile, that's never maybe been sustainable for the vast majority of us. But somehow we believe, or we've told ourselves, that that's okay. Maybe it's never been okay. Maybe we've just been on a cycle of all being beyond our means, ourselves included. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be that we've decided to hold unsustainable lifestyles for years and years, and it's all catching up with people now.
Yeah, you see some of the old TV shows we used to watch, anything in England, right? They were brownstones, and people sat on the stoop, and people would come out. Maybe there was 3 apartments in that brownstone, and people would come out and sit on the stoop, and there'd be people running up and down the street, like, and men would be just out smoking cigarettes, and the ladies would be hanging out their windows, yelling at their kids, come in, da 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 da. But that's how people survived in those days. And it's not, I look at it with a different lens now when I watch that stuff and think it's charming. It wasn't downtrodden. Home ownership is a very costly undertaking. People don't really get it. It is an exceptionally costly undertaking, and it's huge, huge expense that piles onto each other. You have one major problem. I remember when we were in the financial crisis, and I remember one bad thing after another happening to us. We had just moved into our new home, and the basement had hydroponic water. I'd never heard of this in my entire life. Hydrostatic water. So you think of your concrete foundation as a big sponge, and every day it absorbs water, and water pushes around it and all the rest of it. But after a while, with a sponge, like any science experiment, if sponges can hold a lot of water till all of a sudden it can't hold water, and then the water just flows right through it. This is what happens with concrete. And unfortunately, at the time, we lived in a neighborhood where everybody was doing renovations. And the second your neighbor digs a new foundation and is putting on an addition, and this foundation disrupts the water table, it could cause huge problems for you. That whole thing, because now we've got water in the basement. You can't have water in your basement. You get mold, you get all kinds of things. That was ghastly expensive for us to deal with, because we already had the system on the outside of our house. They had to come in and dig a trench on the inside of our house, put in a whole system with a sub pump. And I mean, it was horrendous. It was horrendous. And then, of course, the insurance didn't cover any of it. We could have knocked over a 40-gallon fish tank and the insurance company would have covered it. They did not cover this hydrostatic water that had nothing to do with us. And where does the average person get $50,000 to fix problems like that? Like, it's not an easy thing. Home ownership is not for the faint of heart, and yet we all believe we believe it's a right. I don't know. I do not know. I don't know. Maybe we've gone down a bad path. I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that maybe the people that came before us, they maybe lived a little less stressed than we did.
Well, it was a simpler time, that's for sure. The world is very much different. I mean, now we're kind of heading to the point where they just want everybody in their houses, using their computers and their connections. And we're sort of moving away from the external communities.
Sorry.
Which,
A little bit of a leg cramp happening here. Poor Tim.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes that happens. You have to stand up. Anyways, I know Dave D just said he lived in an RV with no running water for over a year, and it was a real eye opener on what we actually need to survive. And it's true. It is true. And anyways,
Yeah, it's
and Eric, it's not a right, but it's been a reasonable expectations for many generations. I completely understand that, and we all had dreams. Every one of us have a dream to have something we can call our own. Most of us do, but it's just to what end? We've got people in buildings that they can't completely afford, and then so then it's going to make us think differently about. Okay, well then maybe I do need to have a tenant in the basement. Maybe that is the solution. Maybe I do need to have, like people
That's
renting.
not living. You know what I mean? Like, that's not life. It's like, I often try to be introspective and look at myself, and I'm like, okay, because I know that I think fairly old school for my age compared to most people. I'm more in the right wing than the left wing, all that kind of stuff. And I wonder, like, are we stuck? And are we just not realizing that things are shifting? Or am I not realizing? That's what because I'm like, do I give a shit about home ownership? But also at the same time, everyone else did in every generation I could ever imagine had a home. And why am I the first guy who has no value on a home, places no value? The pricing, and they're like shifting my mentality almost. It's the weirdest thing. That stupid little joke. I don't even know if it's a joke, but you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. It's going there. It's literally getting to that point. And
I think so. I think so, Ryan. You know why? Because I think the stress of trying to keep up with this it's enormous.
Yeah, but then we're going to create our own kind of oligarchs here there'll be real estate oligarchs, basically, who are going to be the BlackRocks and these massive slumlords who own 50,000 houses. And there's going to be a handful of them because we're all renters. All we're doing is we're very, when we judge other countries and stuff like this and their systems, sometimes we got to take a look at what we're doing in our own country because we're setting it up to literally duplicate what's going on in countries that we call out every single day with oligarchs and this and that and everything else. Like, we're literally creating it where if you want a house, no. You work hard, no. You have to be a billionaire. Cool. You have to own 1,000 houses. Cool. Foreign ownership. We'll tax you a little bit like this. That doesn't mean dick to foreign owners, by the way. That means literally nothing. Like, when you see these foreign owners come in and buy up 50 properties at a time, okay, they buy 49 then. You know what I mean? And yet we're priced out to a point where I need $750,000 to buy myself a property so I can say, oh, this is mine. Like, everything's shifting. I often find I can't tell if I'm on the right side or the wrong side or what's going on, but it's shifting big time. And it's going to be just shifting. A select handful of owners.
But
you'll be happy.
No, but as I said, I went back to that earlier example of people just, living in the 3-story walk-ups and multiple apartments. I have to say, okay, I'm in this condo complex for 2 weeks. Okay. These are very, very small units, and everybody in here, I think are renters. Now, again, this is a very small, little, tiny example, and this is all based on most of the people that are here. This is their vacationing, okay? But the camaraderie from the people that are here renting is kind of neat. People come out of their places, they're chatting, they're having conversation, and these are itty-bitty tiny places. They're not big spaces, but there's something about it that is intriguing to me. Where, have you not enjoyed it? You've enjoyed it here. And it's just different, people are sharing, they had a potluck in their courtyard. Like, there's just something about that. And maybe that's people who are approaching their mid-50s think that this is a good thing. I don't know. But there's something about that community spirit and the camaraderie that I kind of liked while I've been here. So anyways, Tim's okay. Thank you for asking, everybody. He just had a little bit of a leg cramp. That happens from time to time. Poor Candace
That
had one.
happens more in giraffes than you think.
Yeah, poor Candace had it one night. We called to her. She was in the middle of having a foot cramp. And I'm like, okay, now over to you, Candace. Meanwhile, she was like, no.
I did it. I just pushed through the pain. I was like,
Yeah, he was sitting here for quite a while, shifting and, jiggling. And then, of course, I'm having a hot flash, which is why I've got my washcloth. I'm like, oh, God, I'm having another hot
And then
flash.
the monkey in the accordion comes out.
Yeah, no, it's we have a whole whack of stuff going
yeah,
on
no,
here.
as long as I remember to take a calcium magnesium supplement every day, I don't get them. But then I forget to take one, and then it comes and gets me.
Yeah, no, it's true. Anyways, you know what? This has been fun. I know talking about recessions is not fun, and it's only just to provide some data. Truthfully, it's just about providing data and making sure that honestly that you take some precautions. This is just data for you to think about as we approach the next phase, whatever the next phase will be. And it'll be really interesting as we roll through this to see the conversations that happen week after week. I know we've not been talking nearly as much about crypto outside of what Candace does with the metaverse. We did last week. We talked about XRP, and let me just. There we go. There's mine. And we talked about XRP last week. We've got a new one we're following now, which is Casper. Go and read the white papers if you're interested in that. And but you know what? I just enjoy this community so much, and talking about this stuff helps me to keep in the game, because otherwise we can all so easily fall into our day-to-day routines and not pay attention to what's going on. And having great conversation with everybody about it is it helps to keep it top of mind. I think Ryan's having some technical challenges. Anyways, I'm sure here he's back. So we'll just start to wrap up. Candace, what do you got going on this week?
Oh God, I got a lot going on. So tomorrow I'm dropping a video all about CNR. It's my CNR deep dive. So that is a video you may want to watch if you want to get on track.
Hello. Nice.
But will that stock ever have a crossing?
Oh, that one just hit me in the caboose.
Oh.
All right. So this weekend, the live stream has moved. It's no longer on Saturday night.
Oh.
So this week will now be Sunday nights at 4 p.m. Eastern. So
Nice.
4 and 5. Because now that it's more of a news type show, I thought I'd put it at a time where more people can actually catch it.
Very good.
And then on Monday, I'm doing my first thought experiment video. Basically, a thought experiment. It's going to be, if I could only own 10 stocks that have to be able to get me through recessions, through good times, bad times, what are those stocks going to be?
Are you going to track them over the year?
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because the whole video, trust me, if you're going to make a video on that, that's a great idea.
I should.
Yeah, because then you're killing your idea if you don't. So yeah, track them so that we can see, because even if some work, some don't work, that'll be valuable information to see what didn't work, what worked. I would be tracking that SH, dude. Even if you gave a quarterly or monthly update on it, that would be really interesting to track.
Yeah, absolutely. That is now part of the plan.
There you go.
I will, you know what, a great idea. If it hits me on the fly, I will adapt it. Absolutely. So yeah, and we'll track those as well. So that'll be Monday. Very exciting. A lot of good stuff happening. And then there'll be shorts as normal.
Well, that reminds me, when we were at dinner tonight, I ordered out, it was a hamburger. And I pointed to Nancy and I said, there's a fly on my hamburger bun.
No.
Fly?
She goes, get rid of it.
Hamburger bun?
I said, why would I? It's on a roll.
Oh, dear.
I would have instantly thrown up, so you're better than me.
There was no fly on the hamburger bun. He's just making that
Dear
up.
God, we have to work on this.
Anyways, well, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And maybe you could give us a little update too on Crypto Night in Canada, because I'm curious what your stocks are too.
And I need to actually mention this community a bit more too, because in the last couple of weeks I've gained about 200 subs. So
Wow,
awesome!
There's a lot of new people over there.
Candace, that is amazing. It's just brilliant.
So
I'm so happy
Candace,
for
have you picked these stocks already?
I have a good idea. I'm have to do a little bit more just diving, because I'm thinking about what are going to do good through recessions, through everything. So yeah, I probably, in the back of my head, I've got about 8 of them right now.
Okay.
So I need a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you ones you should look at. No, I'm not saying specifics.
We can't. We can't influence what she picks.
No. Think about it. Anything that any of the customers I sell to in healthcare, because they're people in long-term care facility, whether it's a recession.
You have to think about this. Even like her, well, I don't know what your point is, like your purpose of it is, Candace, but it's not just like, don't just focus on what you think is going to be up. Because it might even just be a thought experiment that you put in, like, let's see how this does, or this sector, because I think that would be really, really interesting to track, and not even about winning and losing, but just watching.
Here's the thing: in building this portfolio of 10 stocks, there's going to be a percentage of them that are blue chip, and there's also going to be a percentage that are not, that are going to be more riskier plays. So you're going to have all of that coming together. And the beautiful thing is, we'll be able to look, like if I do this for a year, at the end of the year, we'll be able to look and see what the total return on investment is for each of them, which will be kind of cool. See which one wins.
But even outside of the winning aspect of it, the amount that you're going to learn from what works and what doesn't work in the worst economic time we've seen, that's invaluable.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And everything I learn will be shared with all of you.
I love it. I think that's amazing. And Ryan, you got your market closes?
Well, no, I'm still dealing with taxes, and I had a deal fall through. I was talking to Tim this morning. I had a deal fall through with the son of a bitch. I couldn't close, so that's fine. I'm still working on this because my tax bill is devastating. I think I'm going to be good to go tomorrow, but I'm in the last, like, one more deal and I'm covered, and then I'm back. Like, I keep my channel members updated and all that jazz, but taxes being paid off, that's my number one thing. So market closes will probably be back this week, but that's hoping that I can close the deal that screwed up you know what I mean? So it's either this week or it's next week, and we're rock and roll.
Awesome. Love it. So that's a lot. I noticed that Ken posted and said, since Candace is moving to Sunday at 4, he's going to do his Saturday night live stream at 8. And I'm sure his Friday night live stream at 8, and he might have a Thursday night live stream. I do not know. Ken is just a mystery to me. And
wait, is the audio? Is it just me, or is the audio screwed for everyone?
How's this? Is this better? Was it ever a problem, Candace?
No, only when he spoke. There was reverberation when Ryan was speaking, so that's probably on him.
Yeah, that was on me.
Yeah.
My phone was whacked out. That was all me.
Oh, okay. So all I'm saying is, I think for those of you that are on that you go watch Ken's channel, 8 o'clock now on Saturday nights and 8 o'clock Friday nights, and probably he might do a Thursday night one. I'm not sure. Anyways, I have to tell you, if you have not watched Ken's on Friday and Saturday night, they're hysterical. Tim and I, we skim through them as we're drinking coffee on Saturday and Sunday mornings, because they are, at one point.
I almost on Saturday or Sunday, you went 8 hours and 50 minutes, Ken did. And I woke up, and it was like, for some reason, I always in the middle of the night when I wake up on a weekend, it's habit. I go and check and see if these guys are on still. And you were right into it. And I thought, you know what? If I go back to sleep and I last an hour or more, I'm going to come on.
Well,
I missed you by 10 minutes.
Here's the funny thing. The other morning, I woke up because I heard Ryan's voice. Jill had the stream on in the
Jill
other.
was on with us.
Joe was on, yeah.
Yeah. And I heard Ryan going on about talking about the sun, and the sun is up at this time and that time. And I'm like, why am I listening? Why am I hearing Ryan right now?
No, I'm telling you, I go in and out of sleep. Sometimes we put the Oracle show on, and I'm in and out of sleep, and I come to, and I sometimes I'm like, that's why all of a sudden I'll wake up and I've only heard half of the conversation. I'm like, what's going on? What is he saying? What's happening? And
He turns to me and wakes me up.
yeah, no, it's funny, but they are hysterical. They are hysterical. They're just funny. Anyways, you guys crack me up. Thank you so much, Candace, yet again for the oh my goodness, the metaverse. Oh, and we'll look forward to having you again next week. Ryan, thanks as always. Ken, we missed you tonight. Not sure. I hope you're okay. I think his truck blew up at work, which is kind of scary.
His engine, turbocharger blew up.
Something blew up.
I think the back part of the truck that contains all of the liquid stuff didn't blow up.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
what
know
I
what?
was worried
It's
when
a
he
good-
said his truck
He
blew
was
up. I'm
going
like,
forwards because if he was in reverse, it would have hit the fan, right?
Guys, let me tell you this story relating to what you're thinking about right now. So one of my favorite jobs was excavation and demo, like demolishing houses and stuff. That was an awesome job. But anyway, we're doing an infill one day, which is a new house built on an old property. So we're cutting the street up to connect the water lines, the sewer lines, you name it, right? My dipshit partner in the excavator, I'm like, just a little bit more. This guy goes balls to the wall, hammers it down. Needless to say, I'm in a 10-foot ditch. You know how you shore them up with metal on the side, whatever. Like, I'm not at risk of cave-in or anything. But his excavator cracks this cast iron sewage pipe from the 50s, okay? Swear to God, swear to God, the outflow was so fast that by the time I was even halfway towards the end of the ditch, I was swimming. And yes, I picked a tampon off of my head, toilet paper off of my... Oh, dude, bloody toilet paper off of my body. And I even called my girlfriend that day. I'm like, I need shit now, like clothes. She got down there. She's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm dying. I was losing my mind, covered in pee, blood, and tampons. So anyway, I've been there, done that. If you guys wonder why...
probably vomit, probably all kinds of other things.
Oh, no, Nancy, this is the funny thing, because this is when people started realizing my stomach. I'm like, oh my God, I'm covered in pee. I'm freaking out, poo all over the place. When I was swimming, I puked all over myself and I kept swimming. I got up. I'm like drenched in poo. Yeah, dude, swear to God. Like everyone was laughing at me because I was the only one in the hole. I'm like looking, I'm swearing at them. I'm throwing up on myself. I'm like, it was the worst. And it took about 20 seconds. That's it. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
See, you're never sure what ends up happening at the end of these shows. You're never sure. Sometimes we talk about,
Ken saying, hey, wait, that's my shtick.
peanut butter on watermelon, and sometimes we talk about tampons on heads.
And now
Ryan,
we're talking
Ryan,
about
not me.
sewage, and poor Ryan's face is flushed.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is the thing. Look, when I literally got out of this cesspool, I was like, it was the smell. I puked everywhere. I'm like all over myself, and I'm like, God, I'm weak stomach. I couldn't handle that. It was so embarrassing. But anyway, that's my poop story.
Oh, I love it. Anyways, I know Journey jumped on the very end. Journey, it's great to see you again. Can't wait to hear an update on your NFT journey soon. Anyways, thank you everybody for sticking it out. And as Jason Spooner said, this show is ending 10 minutes too long.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Au revoir.